pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing while Deputy Mayor Sarah says prayer.
Heavenly Father, watch over our community and help to keep our people safe. Help us to realize that we are part of something much greater than our individual selves, and that our lives are connected in so many different ways. Let us begin to understand that we, as a community, have the power to positively impact the lives of every person we meet. Amen.
Amen.
And could you remain standing for a moment of silence? I'd like to have a moment of silence for longtime Brigantine resident Barbara Gorman, who recently passed away, and for the tragic acts of violence in New Zealand. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Welcome, everybody, to our March 20th meeting. We started out the meeting by going into executive session at 5:30. And as we usually do, we let our attorney, Fred Cerny, speak on what we talked about in the executive session.
Thank you, Mayor. In executive session, the Mayor and City Council dealt with one matter of contract. That is a situation dealing with the Eastern Surfing Association and the need for a permit. Information on this will be made available as this matter is considered this evening on the consent agenda. That would be agenda item 17. A matter of litigation was also discussed. This is Malone versus City of Brigantine. My office provided an update in regard to that litigation. Additional information will be made when the matter moves forward and certain orders are entered by the court. It's anticipated that that will be another 30 to 60 days. A property transfer was also discussed. The city is in contract to purchase the Wolf property. An update was provided to City Council in regard to the status of title insurance on that property. It's anticipated that the transfer will actually take place and the city will go into title in the next 15 to 30 days. That's it, sir.
Thank you, Fred. We usually get started with, I know we have the BHL here, but we also have Sheriff Scheffler here from Atlantic County. He's going to be talking about the Hope One program. That's a drug rehab program that's mobile, I believe. So I think everybody should stay around and listen to Sheriff here, so I'm going to let him go first. Sheriff,
Thank you,
grab the
Mayor.
mic.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, City Manager, Chief, Captain. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to everyone tonight. As the Mayor said, I'm your Atlantic County Sheriff, and I just want to talk to you about two quick things. One is addiction and mental health and the stigma that goes along with it, and what we can do as a community to kind of battle that. And I want to tell you a little bit about my Hope One project that's been out there. Hopefully you've already know about it in some ways, but if you don't, I'll tell you a little bit about it, and if you're interested in getting involved, we can surely use your help. So addiction is no secret. Mental health, it's an epidemic in our country. It's been publicized everywhere, and we talk about the deaths that are occurring. And last year, 73,000 people died from addiction, overdose. So what does that really mean? Well, if you take a look at the financial field, a football field, a professional football field, you fill one of those fields to capacity. That's how many people died last year. Over 3,000 people in New Jersey died, and we are one of those states, unfortunately, that have not decreased its overdose rate, but we continuously climb. There's reasons for that, and that's maybe another lecture or another talk, get my opinion on that. But one of the things that we have to understand, and regardless if addiction has touched your life or not touched your life, or we have a lot of different mentalities when it comes to addiction and mental health, and there's this thought process out there that addiction or mental health is a choice. It's will. If you just had the will, that person had the will that they could overcome this. If they weren't morally affected, they could overcome addiction. They could overcome. It's a choice. Well, let me tell you, it's not a choice. No one chooses to be addicted. No one chooses mental health. I'll tell you a quick story. A friend of mine relayed this to me about a month ago, and one of his high school buddies, long story short, was a professional athlete, not a professional athlete, a collegiate athlete, football player. His father was actually played for the Dallas Cowboys. And this individual became a Navy SEAL. Now, I don't know if anyone in here is in the military or know anything about our Navy SEALs, but our Navy SEALs are our elite fighting force. And what makes them elite is their will, is their sheer mental capacity to overcome anything, absolutely anything. When I was a much younger man, I had an opportunity to train with SEAL Team 6 and SEAL Team 4. And I'll tell you, I was with one of the SEALs the first night, and because of my curiosity, I said to him, "Sir, how far can you swim?" He's a SEAL, right? "How far can you swim?" And without hesitation, what do you think his answer was? What do you think his answer was?
As far as you need to.
As far as I have to. As far as I have to. He had no threshold. There was no concept of a mile, 2 miles, 5 miles. Their mental capacity is amazing. So get back to the original story. This SEAL was found dead from an overdose. And when they went to clean out his house, and my friend was there cleaning out the house, what do you think was on his dresser and on all his tables? Literature about addiction, how to overcome it, how to beat it, alcoholism, everything you could think of. He said there was 40 books laying out there. It wasn't will that killed this person. It was a mental disease that he needed to be able to come forward and ask for help. But because of the stigma, because of what so many of us believe, and not only what we believe, but it's what the addict and the person suffering from mental health believes to themselves. Because we've drilled it into us that, you can overcome this. This is not a disease. So I want you to understand that, and I want you to understand that if you are suffering, if you know someone that's suffering, if you think someone is suffering, ask them. And don't, I don't expect to say, hey, do you have a addiction? And, oh yeah, I do, I need help. But I want them to know that I care, either as a friend or as an acquaintance or as your sheriff. I want you to know that I care if you're suffering and that I'm here if you decide to ask for that help. And if we do that, I spoke at a mayor's meeting, I think that's why I'm here, and I talked about stigma. And there was a mayor at the table who said, and I said that, we need to become stigma-free. And I went to the Freeholders Board last year and I asked them to declare Atlantic County stigma-free, and they did, and I appreciate that very much, and I think it means something. But what I said, we need to be stigma-free, and the mayor said to me, "Oh, Sheriff, we're all stigma-free. We all understand that addiction is a disease." And I said, "Well, all due respect, Mayor, we're not stigma-free. You're not stigma-free unless you're having that conversation on a daily basis with your spouse, your children, your friends. You're not stigma-free unless you're talking to your employees or your employer. You're not stigma-free unless you're opening up avenues of recovery. That, with just what you feel or what you believe, is not who you are. It's what you do. So we need to do more. Does that make sense? We need to do the action of being stigma-free to give people the ability to come forward to get that, get that recovery. There's so many people amongst us today, and in your own community, in the community of Atlantic County, that have suffered from addiction, that have suffered from mental health, and that are on an incredible positive path to that, and have recovered. And anyone can, but they need the help. They need the helping hand. So I want you to know that. So let me tell you a little quick story about Hope One. The mayor's probably saying, all right, get that hook. The sheriff's way too long. So Hope One is a mobile outreach program. I designed it last year. We went operational September 4th. It goes out twice a week, minimally in our communities throughout the entire county. It's been here in Brigantine. And we basically provide a connection between crisis and treatment. If you're suffering, and a lot of people don't have any insurance, no Medicaid, nothing, they've been on the street, or some people even have insurance, but when you're in crisis, it's very difficult to get treatment. And not because it doesn't exist, but it's hard to navigate the system, especially in crisis, especially when you have someone in crisis. So my people in the Hope One Project are experts at that soft handoff. This is the issue you have, this is what you're suffering from. It's dual diagnosis, it's mental health primary, you have no insurance, we get your Medicaid number within 10 minutes, and we find a treatment partner and put you into treatment. And we've done it in about 24 hours. I started off with 2 partners about 6 months ago. I have 33 partners in my coalition today, 17 of which are treatment providers. And we have, since September 4th, we went operational, we put 206 people into treatment. So. Thank you so much. It's gone much bigger than just a mobile outreach. Although we go out into communities and plant our flag and try to reach the people most needed, 2 brothers in Summers Point literally climbed out of the trash can and got help that day. Mother and daughter came forward in Galloway and got help that day, and we put them both into treatment. It's much more than that. I turned it into a 24-hour hotline. You can call my communication bureau. It's 909-7200. And they will take an intake for you. If you're in a crisis that moment, of course, we'll refer you to emergency care. But if you're looking for treatment, you're looking for help, and you're struggling either with your own insurance card or having no insurance or having nothing or don't know where to go next, they will do an intake. And my Hope One partners and members, I actually have 2 full-time people that work for me now. It was based on a volunteer program, but now I have 2 full-time employees in the Hope One project. They will take that and they will call you. We also created a non-clinical case management. Why is that important? Because we put so many people into treatment, we didn't know where they went next. And sometimes because of our system, which honestly is broken in so many different ways, not that there's not good people in it, but it doesn't really connect as well as we would like it to. People fall through the cracks. You know, they go to detox, they don't get into short-term treatment, or they go to long-term treatment and then they get out and they get no place to live. Or there's so many little ways to stumble and fall. So what we did was we have a non-clinical case management. We follow everyone we place, and we help you along the way. Everything from harm reduction. We do Narcan training and fentanyl strip training and needle drop right there on the street to try to do some harm reduction, right through to sober living. I have a Atlantic County Sheriff's Foundation, which helps fund Hope One, which is completely privately funded. And we have, to date, I think we put 6 people with grants into sober living. People that couldn't afford to go to the next step, we made sure that they were there. So we continue to do that. So if you're interested in any way to not only what you believe or what you say, but to do something positive for our community at large and your community, and you want to come out and help with Hope One, I'll leave some of my cards. Please email me. I will send it over to my Hope One people, and they will contact you. There's a lot of things you can do. Everything from helping us do mailers, answering phones, and if you have any kind of expertise in recovery or addiction or mental health, then we want you on the bus. Honestly, if you don't, I don't want you on the bus, because I need people out there that can communicate with those people directly. But even if you don't have that background and you want to help, there's still a lot of other things to do for the project. So I took up too much of your own time. I see the team here. They're like, come on, Sheriff. We were supposed to go first. Congratulations to all of you, by the way. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk. I appreciate it.
I'd like to thank Eric personally. We were at a mayor's dinner together, and he spoke at that mayor's dinner, and he impressed me so much. I asked him to come to Brigantine, and I'm going to ask him one more time, maybe hit our school system. Our city manager will set that up for you, and or for our school, and I think that'd be a great thing. I was there when they did the Hope One turnout with the bus he had, and I pulled up there one hot day. It was hot that day. It was like 105 degrees, and I looked over there. There was my son. He's part of your team there. He was part of the partners on the bus, you know, and so it's a great thing. You're doing a hell of a job. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. I guess that's it for the evening. See you guys. I'm going to ask Coach Riley to come up, and we're going to hand out some certificates to some champions.
Hey, Dan, you probably don't mind if we join you, do you, being part of the Hockey Association? Right.
Yeah, but he knows who's in charge.
Mike wants to get in the picture?
John, is it okay if Mike is down there? You got the okay from John, you're good. Yeah. Start out with his picture, then come to sit down. I'll take a chocolate with Jimmy.
Oh, yeah, it's your team.
Want to say, I'm okay to say something?
Okay, sure. You want to bring up when you get your name's called, come on up and get your certificate.
Yeah. Well, first of all, a big thank you to the players, number one, obviously, for all your hard work and dedication coming up through the league. I mean, maybe you come in as Penguins or whatever level you came in at, and you just progress and work your way up. It really speaks to your commitment. It also speaks to the commitment of all your families that are out there and all the time that it takes to run you down there to just whether it's hockey, and sometimes they have things going on with dance and everything else. So it's a commitment all around. And Mike and I, we were both involved in the league, and we refereed a lot of games down there. I was the head ref for a couple years, and there's actually a couple of you players out there that I actually personally coached my last year as a cadet coach with my older son. So I mean, that's a special meaning for us as well. So hats off to you. Hats off to the coaches for all their commitment, to Bob and Mike, and also Pete. And let's get it on. Anything, Mike? Okay.
You got it in your
All right.
hand?
Okay. All right, goalie. This is the goalie. I do know that much. Ian Valente. Awesome job.
Yes.
Yeah. So I might just say too, real quick, with a goalie, man, you're a man on an island right there, you know. Everybody sees them great saves, but you know, one sneaks in down there, it's just going to happen, you know. So it takes a lot of mental toughness to be a goalie and hang tough in there for your team. Trevor Cohen. John Grassler. So I mentioned a couple of players. These two, Trevor and John, were the last two players that I had with my older son, so it's really nice to see them up here along with the rest of you guys. Devin Lee. Good job, Devin. You're one of our football players too, right? Yep. All right. Buddy Mason. Great job, buddy. Okay. Dominic Virgili. Jake Downing. Good job, Jake. Brian Coonley. Great job, Brian. R.J. Riley. got to say, it's kind of funny. Some of these kids, I didn't coach, I didn't rep down there this year, and they've all like aged. Some of them I haven't seen in quite some time. They look so much different. It's amazing.
Probably say that about you, too.
Try my best to hang in there. Liam Mackey. Good job, Liam. I tell you, you do get a workout running up and down that court too, right, Mike? Oh, yeah. Stevie Smith. Stevie. Bella Virgili. Good job, Bella. And now the coaches for all their hard work and... Oh, yeah, let's get you on the other side of... I didn't realize they were all filtering out there. Coaches for all their hard work and determination and just working through the X's and O's and keeping the kids, keeping their chins up, because there's different times throughout the game that everything doesn't go your way. And I did see these final scores in these games, right? Yeah, there was a couple one-goal games, and that final game was won by 2 goals, and in hockey... It's like the most dangerous leagues you can have. I mean, my son still plays ice hockey over at Stockton, and he came all up through BHL. And he's going to be nail biters, man. You got that 2-goal lead, and you give the team a little momentum. But yeah, it was a really good job by the coaches, just keeping the chins up on all the players and having them fight through everything and bringing home the gold, so to speak. So, Coach Pete Virgili. He was the one who showed him everything, right? Oh, there you go. Great job, Pete. There you go. Coach Mike Valente. Good job, Mike. Mike is also one of my former trooper buddies. We're both retired now, so hats off. Where's Bobby? You got one left?
Bob Riley.
Just call him up. All right. No, he's not. Okay. All right. Step up. We're going to have you present your own. And last and certainly not least, Coach Bobby Riley. All right, Bob.
I just want to say, like Coach Haney said a minute ago, it's so difficult to win a championship against all these other bigger towns. And and I believe this is the first cadet championship we've won, it might be ever. So how about that? That's not only a credit to the children, the coaches, and the parents that make the commitment also. We had the parade on Saturday, and one of the highlights of the parade for me was when our champions got together with the 3-time Super Bowl champion, Jim Devlin. So it just goes to show the hard work pays off. And last but not least, the great athlete once said, I think it was Yogi Berra, he said, street hockey is great for kids. It's energetic, competitive, skillful, and most of all, it keeps them off the street. That's all I got.
I just following up on that real quick, right? Last year we had the Penguin A team. The Penguin A team won a championship. It is about the kids, I know that. Penguin A championships, and now we got the cadet champions here. So I think maybe the Beavers will bring home one next, so along with the Penguins and the cadets. So.
Tall guys in the back, short guys in the back.
There you go. Come on, guys.
I think a couple of them are going to be standing for you.
Yeah.
It might be.
Sounds like you guys ready?
Right here.
Stand right here.
Before you don't want my lemon drops in there? Tighten up a little bit on that end if you can. Look this way. One more time, so you can smile. Now, if you want, you can all give me the number 1. Number 1. Get the right one.
Good job, Bobby. Congratulations. Thanks. Good job.
Hey, thanks.
You did a good job. You were the best.
We'll take 5 minutes so everybody can, doesn't want to stay around, they can leave. Then we'll start the meeting again.
Shane, you're the only adult standing in the front. I know, taking a heat. You saved my life, man. I was
You know, it's like,
No problem.
see the people,
Yeah.
microphone is recorded, and somebody tries to take it.
Sure.
They go, no,
Teamwork?
never give the microphone.
Yeah. Anytime.
Can't have the microphone.
No.
Never give the microphone.
See ya.
Media class, just a lesson, like interview. So they brought kids in. Stick him in those.
Great.
Everybody else?
Take mine.
Green lights on.
Green beans go.
Just take Rick's.
I'll just share, Karen.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. I see a lot of people out here. I know what you guys want to talk about. So I'm going to move it around so you guys can speak now, so you don't have to stay here all night. I talked to Jack and then Gene before the meeting tonight, and most of you, I have stopped down to the senior community center to talk to you about what's going on down there. I have talked to the county, I talked to the JCC. They asked me to give them a little time to straighten out the situation. They wanted a month, I told them I'd give them 2 weeks. I was back down there twice so far. So 3 times I've been down there, and I also asked Councilman Lettieri to go down, and he gave me an update on it. So, they have a total of 2 weeks. I will revisit the community center, and I'll sit down with every single one of you. I even did chair yoga down there. Me and the city manager. And, so, if you guys, you're welcome to speak. I understand what's going on. Most of the council knows what's going on. And, you know, if you guys want to hang out, you want to speak, I know what's going on. And again, Gene sent me a fruit basket, and I appreciate that. And so did the whole city hall, because I couldn't eat it all. And if you want to come up and speak for the group and to give an understanding what's going on there to the public, you know, I'm certainly willing to change things around. Keep that
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Bennett, City Council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gene Solomon, and I'm the one who wrote the letter to the Brigantine Times. What provoked it was the unfortunate termination of Linda Nace to her position as manager of the Brigantine Nutrition Site. When I was young, my parents instilled in me some ethics, and they said that if something immoral has been done, you should fight it, even if you lose. And that's what provoked the letter to the Brigantine Times and the petition. If anybody wants to know, we collected 53 names on the petition, which was delivered to Mr. Jack Fox at the Jewish Community Center in Margate. And as you know, he came to the center the other day and explained what great changes they were going to make for us. And he was confronted by numerous people asking, could not Linda, who is so able and so good and dealing with people, could she not handle it? And he said that we had terminated Linda and she is no longer with our organization. Now, I could go on and say a lot of things I had to put in to say, but I think Linda should come up and say a few words about her termination. Please, Linda, come up. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you guys for looking into it.
Lynn, just talk into the microphone so everybody at home can hear you too.
Thank you guys for looking into this, but mostly I want to thank them. I always thought we were a family, and this really just kind of confirms it to me. Thank you before I sit and cry.
Yes. Thank you. I just want to assure everybody that the city manager and myself and all council are behind you, and we will take care of whatever situation it is down there that helps our seniors and that program. I have talked to Dennis Levinson, our county executive, his administrator, Jerry Del Rosso. I talked to Mr. Fox from the JCC. So I am on top of this. Just give me a couple weeks, and hopefully by the time our next council meeting comes along, there'll be something that we'll be taken care of at that particular time. To make everybody happy. I know Linda, and I know Jean and her husband. It's not about money. It's not about any of that stuff. I know she personally loves every single person down there and what they do. And those people, when I sat there with those 50-some senior citizens, they love Linda too. So it's nothing about that. Gene, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank my wife for being the kind and caring person that she is. And it's a travesty to have to lay this out to everybody like this over something that she did not deserve. And unfortunately, all the folks here, I believe, in my opinion, are going to suffer as a result of this. I don't think this is going to get any better whatsoever. My opinion, I'm one guy, one opinion. Hopefully, you all, and I mean that politely, can dig into this a little bit further and see what really is best for our seniors. The interpersonal relationships that she developed over the years, 16 years. She's been doing this, 16 years, did it great up until Friday a week ago. She's involved in everybody's life here. And they with us too. I mean, there's been times, Dennis, for example, there's been times, Dennis's father-in-law, my regular dinner meetings, the dinner conversation at my house on a regular basis was, Gino, please remind me to call Mindy for Cy. Please remind me to call John for Eileen. I haven't seen Frank for a couple days. Call Frank, please. See what's going on. That's just the way it was. We're all family here. It was all brigantine. This is one big family down here. There was a flow to everything that happened down there. I was involved with it. I retired fairly recently, and I was involved with a little bit of it. Not as regular as her, but I went down and did things, and I saw the way it went. It didn't matter if you were a volunteer, the JCC, a Brigantine City employee, whoever it was in there. It was one big family because we were all here together. And that's the way this place is. So I ask you guys, take a close look at it, please. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Gene.
Thanks. Go ahead.
I just wanted to let you know, as the mayor just said, I can tell you 110% mayor is on this. It's a top priority for him. We've been talking about it, and I think he will make them understand about the misunderstanding that happened with them, and they don't realize. So I have complete confidence that Andy will get this settled for us in the next couple of weeks, and it'll all turn out good in the end.
Thank you.
On behalf of my father, who goes to the senior center, let me explain something. If my father is not there, Linda calls our home, and not only on behalf of him, but we've had some stuff happen in our family, and when we're not here, she wants to make sure that everything's okay. And you know, for a person to go above and beyond their call of duty, she can tell you everything that's wrong with every senior there. Now, come hell or high water, whether or not there's a snowstorm going on or there's a flood going on, the person that they have in there now, guarantee you, will not be there like she will be there. Because the first storm that comes on this island, Linda was there opening up the place. Whether or not it was a few people or a lot of people, she was there. Now these people that they have coming off this island to take her place is not necessary, because she can do more than they can do. Because I went there the other day to see my father, and the person that they have taken her place was sitting there on her phone having a conversation with her son about a job. Now, what is going on here? You know what I mean? This is crazy. I mean, you have older people, you have people that have different kinds of cases, but Linda always makes sure that if someone needs a meal or whatever they need, she makes sure they got it. This one that they have in there now doesn't know the elbow from the stick to God.
Good evening. I'm going to make this short. I'm not going to come up here and sing Linda's praises. All these people here, they would all say the same thing.
Correct.
They were here. But I just want to bring up a situation that you're not aware of. Since Linda has left, it appears that whoever has taken over now has been mistreating the seniors. And the example I want to give you is Leah, 89 years old, right? Didn't you have a problem over there with the new people yelling at you and threatening to have you banned from the community center? I mean, what is that? I mean, she's 89 years old. What could she have done so bad that they wrote her up? Yeah.
Again,
So that I don't know if you knew about that.
I understand, I'm on top of it. You know, I don't want to promise you something that I can't deliver,
Of course.
but,
It's the county's call,
well,
pretty much.
it's our building,
But it's our place, yeah.
yeah. And you're my customers.
I just
So-
want you to be aware of
So-
it's not just what happened to Linda, it's some of the fallout that's happened that you might not have been aware of and knows what's going on. How they're treating the people.
I was down there yesterday, I've been talking to Jim Mogan. I was there today to see this woman, Terry. She wasn't there. As far as I know, she's supposed to work till 2 o'clock. I was there at 1:30, she wasn't there. I'm on top of it. Give me the next council meeting.
I'll be here.
You'll have an answer, and hopefully, everybody out there is going to be smiling,
I will be here.
if you know what I'm saying.
Yep. I'm sure that Phil didn't warn you that I don't work night work anymore, so I'll be at the
Okay.
meetings.
Again, I'm in retail, and you're my customers. As your mayor, I am fully aware that I have upset customers, and I will either fix it or eliminate it, the problem. So, I will take care of it. Thank you very much. If you guys want to stay around, you can stay around for the rest of the meeting. If you guys want to take off, you won't insult us. Thank you, guys. You're supposed to talk in the microphone. Okay. Yeah, it's not us. If it was us, we would have took care of it. No, she gets paid. Not much. Yeah, she ain't doing it for the money.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Chair yoga.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, where were we?
Number one.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Phillips. I didn't even know you were back there. No. We're on number 7? Okay. We're going to have to approve the council minutes and executive minutes for our March 6th meeting. I need a first and a second.
So moved.
Any questions? Seeing none, can I have roll call, please?
View? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
Dupre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we're going to approve payroll and operating expenses. I need a first and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
View? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
Dupre?
Abstain on 02792, yes to the others.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And now we're going to open up our meeting to the public. Agenda items only. Anybody wants to speak about agenda items only? Come on up. Have your name and address into the record. Thanks, Mary.
I'm Marion Kaczynski, and I'm at 107 21st Street in Brigantine. I wanted to follow up on the last time we met, and I mentioned the problem of veteran suicide.
It should be agenda items only, anything that's on the agenda. We're at that stage of the meeting.
All right,
Okay, public comment is at the end of the meeting.
all right, sorry.
That's okay. We'll do that in probably about 15 minutes. I'll get it done quickly. Anybody else want to talk about agenda items only? Okay, I'm going to close the public portion and go right into our agenda here. Okay, ordinance number 4, 2019, public hearing and adoption, amending charters 210 and 270, changing to the fees for taxi cab owner's license. Need a first and second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to open this up to the public. Anybody want to speak on the taxi cab ordinance we have going on here? I see none, so I'm going to close it. I'm going to open it up to council right now. Okay, no questions or concerns. Jim, you want to just give a little brief overlay of this?
Thank you, Mayor. The long and short of it is, previously we had 12 taxi licenses or medallions out for sale. We've reduced that down to 6, and we've also reduced the fee that we charge the owners of those medallions to renew them each year. As we all know, the taxi cab business is dwindling and is in very tough times thanks to the ride-sharing companies that are out there. So at the behest of the taxi cab company owners, I put this ordinance forth. It's not going to affect any of the regulations or anything else that we've changed. We're simply lowering the number of total medallions and lowering the cost.
Okay. Lynn, can we have roll call, please?
Certainly. You? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, ordinance number 5, 2019, public hearing and adoption amending the salary ordinance. You need a first and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to open up to the public first. Anybody want to speak from the public? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. Council? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
You? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, ordinance number 6, 2019, public hearing and adoption amending the charter of 165, Article 11 of the code entitled Street Openings. Need a first and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Want to open it up to the public. Anybody from the public want to speak on street openings? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. Council, any questions? Okay, hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
You? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, ordinance number 7, 2019, public hearing and adoption amending Charter 105, Article number 5, Section 26 of the code. Group and special events permit. I want a first and second on that.
Make that motion.
Second it.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Does anybody want to speak on that? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. I want to talk to the council. Anybody from council? Okay, this is, I think this is allowing you to make the decisions on some of this stuff we talked about.
Yes, Mayor. It allows us to either grant or deny my office or my designee permits that may interfere with normal operations of any public place in the city of Brigantine, without having to bring it forward to council.
Okay, can I have roll call, please?
You? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
This is Resolution 2019/55, acknowledging environmental efforts of the 8th grade class at Brigantine Middle School student. Her name is Rebecca Price. Need a first and second?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on this? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
You? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Yeah, this is Resolution 2019/55, 56, authorizing an agreement to waiver and/or release a Walker deed restriction at 401 29th Street. Can I have a first and second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to ask the public, if anybody from the public wanted to speak on this. Mrs. Phillips? Excuse me?
That was premature. Ann H. Phillips, 308 27th Street. The paper says 26, but the computer says 29.
That is
Okay.
29th Street.
What are the sizes? I believe 2 lots now are going to be in place of the one. Is that what is taking place? I drove by this afternoon, and there is a house, just one house on that property, and
Jim, you have that sizes on that?
There'll be factually 3. It'll be 28...
3 lots, right?
2804 Ocean Avenue is the current homeowner's property. They're purchasing 401 29th Street, and it's going to be subdivided into 3 conforming lots.
so they're tearing down the...
The one on 29th Street is supposed to be the one coming down.
Yeah, but that, in other words, they're getting 3 lots out of what is now 2, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So, but that one lot in that house that I think is unoccupied is going to become 2 lots?
There's going to be 3 made out of the 2. Both homes at some point, they've been through the planning board already.
Yeah,
they've got the approval. So both homes will be coming down, and they'll have 3 conforming lots.
So each of the 2 new lots will have a 60-foot frontage?
That's what they're telling me.
Yes.
Is that correct? I was trying to see, it didn't look that big. I guess what's there now is 80 feet. No, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be 120?
Well, one lot's 80 foot, says in here.
Yeah.
So they're making 3 60-footers out of it.
I'm confused, because obviously there are 3 houses on that block on that side. The corner lot, which is staying, has a house on it. The one in the middle that is basically unoccupied. And then there's one that's beachfront, which I'm assuming is also staying. So you're saying that 2 lots are going to be made out of that one house in the middle?
No, the house on the corner is coming down.
That's what I was trying to ascertain. Okay, so that wasn't clear.
That was 2804 Ocean Avenue. That's what...
That's not that old. So, well, that's people's preference. Okay, so that's what they're going to do. They're going to subdivide them into 3 60.
They're all be conforming lots.
That's right.
All we're doing is, we're not making them conform.
No, I understand. I was just curious as to how they were made. I didn't just think that house on the corner was going to be torn down,
Correct.
because it doesn't look like it's in need of,
Needed.
being
Needed.
replaced. Okay,
Needed
thank
a
you.
bulldozer.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
Yeah, I have some. I think with the exception possibly of Paul, the rest of us were all on council in September of 2017, excuse me, which was the last time the Walker deed restriction came before us. And the process that was, I thought, understood to apply when council is being asked to lift a deed restriction was that, and this is what happened, in fact, that time. There was a presentation made on behalf of the applicant, who I imagine was the property owner, and they addressed, ultimately not to my satisfaction, but that's beside the point, but they addressed the requirements that have to be addressed in order for us to lift a deed restriction according to the case law. And those steps are that first we have to identify, or the applicant has to identify what was the purpose of the deed restriction being created in the first place. then they have to demonstrate through actually a pretty high standard of proof of clear and convincing evidence that circumstances have changed such that whatever was that original purpose is no longer served by the deed restriction. And then if you reach the point of concluding that they've proven that to your satisfaction, then the issue is concluded. We simply would vote to lift the deed restriction, and there's no authorization for us to demand any kind of payment or compensation other than, if this were in play, actual out-of-pocket costs that we might have incurred in having our professionals review some aspect of the application. So I'm not sure, how do we get tonight to the point where, dealing with the very same deed restriction, we have, as far as I can tell from looking at the audience, no one prepared to come forward on behalf of the owner to address any of those issues. The original
Would you
purpose.
agree if they went in front of the planning board and the planning board with no variances?
Well, but Andy, that's not...
It's a by right subdivision,
But that's not the issue.
and really all we're doing is lifting the deed restriction?
I understand that. I understand what our role is here, and the fact that it happens after or before the planning board is kind of immaterial. And yes, the planning board's approval was going to be needed in any case for them to develop. However, I mean, the law is pretty clear. When we're asked, and separate and apart from whatever the planning board has done or will do, when we are asked to do the one thing that we have authority over, which is lifting this deed restriction, there is a pretty well-established process through the cases in New Jersey that tells us what we have to have. We have to have a record that establishes that whatever was that purpose, and we don't need to speculate about specifically what was the original purpose. Obviously, it was to create, larger lots. But if we're going to conclude that the circumstances since 1940, five have changed in such a way that the city no longer needs, in order to serve that additional interest, no longer needs to have that deed restriction, we certainly have the power to vote that, but we can't do it in a vacuum. I mean, because it feels right, and I think maybe that's the case? Well, that is not evidence.
Because it's today's standards.
No.
It meets today's standards.
Okay, if there is something put on the record, and Fred will tell you, my opinion on a given thing as a lawyer in any given case might be accurate. My sense of the facts might be good. My ability to recite to a judge what are the facts and how the judge should look at them might be compelling. But you have to have an objective record created. Somebody has to stand up and say, A, B, and C. A, this is why these things were created. And that's separate and apart from what I may think was going on back in 1945 or somebody else might think. Then they have to be able to say that B, those circumstances have changed, and here's how they have changed, such that those restrictions no longer make sense or are needed. And if we get to the point where we agree with that, then we don't have the authority to charge people some apparently random amount of money for doing that. What I said back in 2017 still applies. It would be as if a zoning board said, if you're willing to pay $25,000, we'll give you a use variance, which we all know they would have no authority to do. It would be flatly illegal for them to do. This is basically, it's not in our zoning code, but it is a zoning restriction. It's a minimum lot frontage requirement. It's unique because of the way it came about, that it was created by way of deed restriction, which means that unlike every other lot frontage issue that would go to the planning or zoning board, we have authority to decide it one way or the other. But in so doing, we can't just make stuff up. And once we do it, just like the zoning board could not demand of an applicant any payment for any theory other than actual out-of-pocket, escrow reviews for whatever the professionals might have cost the board, or in this case cost us. If Fred spent some time in this, we'd be entitled to recover that from the applicant. Similarly with our engineer or any other professional. But if we follow the right procedure, and we kind of have to, then whatever evidence and however you want to evaluate it to get to the conclusion that these restrictions are no longer needed, that's up to the individual up here to decide, if they're satisfied that that standard's been met. Once we do that, if that vote ends up being in the majority in favor of lifting it, we can't charge these people money.
Well, Rick, can I say something, Mayor? You're
Yeah,
okay? Did
yeah.
you want to respond?
Yeah.
The restrictions, as I know, or as we all know up here, were put in place for a reason, to stop overbuilding back in the day. I don't think, if you're saying they're no longer needed, I believe they are still needed. We don't want overbuilding in the A zone. The people came before the planning board with their plans.
We don't want them to build
And
on a smaller lot.
Right, and it's been
Now
a
that-
past practice, and there is a value to lifting the restriction. So, the way I see it, it's been a past practice has been set. There's a value to lifting the Walker restriction, and we've agreed on that price in the past. And right now, after the planning board has looked at the plans, they agreed on it, and so I think it's good what we're doing here tonight. Get it going.
If I can, and this will, I'm not going to respond to any other comments, but just so it's on the record, Mike, there is not a value to us, to the city, in lifting restriction that can be expressed in dollars. If that restriction is lifted...
Rick, I disagree.
Mike,
There's been a past practice set that there's a value for the Walker restriction and lifting the Walker restriction. So you say that there's no value. It's been set and it's been done. There is a value to lifting the Walker restriction. So you may want to look at it a little differently, Rick. Sorry.
No, actually, Mike, I'm going to look at it according to the laws I did in
Well,
2017.
Okay, was there a value in the past, Rick? Was there a value in the past for lifting the Walker restriction?
Tell you what, Mike, here's the deal.
No,
Don't interrupt me this time, and I'll answer
my
the question.
Was there a value in the past?
No, there was never...
Yes, there was.
No,
$25,000 was paid in the past.
Hold on,
and
because
it
you
was paid
said...
again.
Hold on, because you
No,
said...
it was
I want
paid, Rick. There was a
$25,000.
value.
Mike.
Okay, come on.
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, the process, what I'm trying to explain is, and was not followed properly...
No, the problem is you're saying there's no value.
No,
The value has been set.
Mike,
Because
finish.
there is
Let him finish,
not.
then you
We-
can say whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Please.
Here's the point. Legally, we could not then charge, because by definition, if these restrictions in a given place, because each applicant would come to us individually, doesn't mean you're lifting them across the board, you're lifting them for one property. When we decide that these restrictions are no longer needed, then we are saying there is no cognizable public interest in that restriction, meaning it has at this point in time no value. We can't charge people for giving up something that has no value. The fact that we did charge them doesn't change that. And as I started to say, for the record, and if anybody wants to check this in the future, because this will come up again, as I said back in 2017, the cases you want to look at are cases called Sousa v. Denville, that's at 238, New Jersey Super, 66. American Dream versus Planning Board, 209 NJ 161, and Gerber versus Springfield, 38 New Jersey Super, 556. These are cases from a while back. They haven't changed. They haven't been overruled or superseded. And they spell out very clearly what I just explained is the right procedure, the only procedure that we can follow to get to the point of lifting a deed restriction.
I'd like to say something. This property, these properties, I should say, are in my ward, and first of all, regarding what was just discussed in the back and forth here, Fred, do you have some input on this?
Actually, if I could ask Fred a question first, if you don't mind, because it might help to frame out what you're asking too.
Okay, I'd still like to hear from Fred, but you...
Yeah, I was going to ask Fred the question, though, but that's what I said. I'm going to tag into what you're saying, but I do have a legal question, yeah. So, let me frame it out first for the public, and then I'll have a question for our attorney. What was explained to me in previous conversations with our city manager about the Walker restriction, because I think Rick brings up a good question, a good point, is what is the public interest or what is the public value to this? So my understanding of the history of this is that that Mr. Walker purchased a number of lots from the city. In exchange for that, he was given a discount for those lots. There was some building project or something, I don't know if it was connected with the Island Development Company, that actually fell through. The city wanted to make sure that the town was developed but not overbuilt. The concern that they had was that if they sold these lots at a discount to Mr. Walker, that he could then subdivide those lots, turn them around for a profit, and leave the city kind of high and dry. They put this Walker restriction in place to make sure that we kept good quality neighborhoods within our community. what was explained to me by Ed Stinson, our former city manager, is that since we sold those properties at a discount, that is the value of the Walker restriction, that value in that time period when we sold it continues to stay with that property. That's why it's a restriction. What he explained to me is that since the city at that time had made some considerations to Mr. Walker to put a value in that property, that we as a governing body did not have the authority or right to just give something away that belonged to the public. There had to be some fee or some price because the public gave something up when Mr. Walker bought those lots. So I guess my question to our attorney is, since there was a discount and a consideration made to Mr. Walker at that time, would that constitute a public value and public interest in that property, which would hold a monetary value to this day?
Councilman, it can, and there is value in the argument. I guess when I look at the whole issue, though, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that this council has not in the past said that we would eliminate the financial consideration. That is, that we would release this without the financial payment. I know those arguments have been made previously, but we have never gotten to that point. I mean, all along, there has been a value placed on this restriction and on the lifting of the restriction. Historically, you would get appraisals on it, and those appraisals basically came in at around 10% of the lot value. The last time this came before council, my recall was that rather than going out and getting an appraisal, rather than being locked into the 10% number, that council compromised and came up with this $25,000 number. And as I understand what council is doing, it has a property right in this property because of the presence of the Walker restriction. That is something that was put in place for the broader benefit of the municipality, so the municipality still has that aspect of that property. If the council concludes that at this point in time, given current zoning and other facts that may be brought before council, that the municipality does not need that, the municipality has a right to sell it. Just like the municipality has a right to sell public land that it no longer needs. This is an interest. It is not a fee interest, but it is an interest in property. And if the municipality does not need that interest any longer, I don't know that they're prohibited from selling it. I understand Councilman DeLucre's argument. I do understand it, but I do not think historically this council has gotten to that point, and I don't think that there is an absolute legal bar to the process that council is involved in at this point. As long as you've advertised that this is happening, and the microphone was open to anyone who wanted to speak on it, I believe that given the municipality's interest in the restriction and the fact that it is no longer needed by the municipality, that you can sell it.
Thank you, Fred. I would just, in so many words, Fred, I mean, I follow exactly what you're saying, and I agree. This is, can't believe everything you say in the papers or what you hear in the radio or whatever, but in Atlantic City, for instance, I know there's been there's been holders of deed restrictions where there's been money paid for the lifting of that restriction rather than getting into some protracted legal battle or something like that. The city does have an interest in this deed. They're the holder of the deed. So we are an incorporated city, obviously, so it can be sold for a monetary value, just like the whole chronology of what we discussed prior. These things have been reviewed by the American Society of Planners. I did a little bit of research on this. We have there's a requirement. We have 60-foot frontage on our lots now. That will still be maintained. And it's important too that we maintain this Walker restriction so it can be looked at in a case-by-case basis. If there is this area here, I don't see, with these lots, I don't see any safety concerns or anything of that nature. However, there could be a time up the road where a Walker restriction is involved, and there might be an interest that involves the public safety of the community. So that might be looked at differently, and that might, in that instance, maybe something could hypothetically be denied. However, in this case, that is not so. So, thank you for your explanation, Fred, and
Thanks, Dennis.
it's on the up and up.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or concerns from council members? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
You? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes, I'd just like to add, too, that the city is also doing its proper duty in regulating the density of the community as well, and there's no problems in that regard. I vote yes.
DeLucre?
Let me note, whatever the past practice of council has been in reaching or not reaching a point of deciding what we can and cannot do with compensation, the proper analogy there would be to street vacations. When we vacate a street, that's our determination that we no longer need that for the public purpose as a right-of-way. And the case is of Menk v. Township Committee, 389 NJ Super. Very clear, we can't charge compensation. This is comparable interest. We have a property interest, not fee, it doesn't matter if it's not fee, in a number of properties throughout the town. And that interest is expressed in the form of a restriction against development on less than an 80-foot front. When we make the determination, just like we would do with a street vacation, that we no longer need it, that's the end of the story. We cannot charge. And I hear what Dennis says about we're not giving up our right on any given vote in tonight's vote to review the situation differently in a future application. And I'm going to respectfully say that's not so, because tonight we're making a decision, assuming the remaining votes go as I know they will. We're making a decision to lift the deed restriction on the strength of no record whatsoever. There is no evidence that's presented to us that lets us hang our hat on any of this. We have, at best, our own sort of understanding based on what we may have heard from somebody else about why it happened in the first place, and we have no evidence whatsoever specific to this property or any property right now that says the 80-foot restriction is no longer needed at this location because. Now, one good answer would be, nobody's up here to say it, one good answer would be because the rest of the neighborhood has changed and there are no other 80-foot lots in that area and everybody else is at 60 feet. That, to me, would be a pretty compelling case of a changed circumstance. But we don't have any record of any kind, so I have no idea how we reach those conclusions other than making them up. So, no.
Reardon?
After hearing what our council had to say and some of the other members up here, and I agree with the majority of them, I do have to say I believe Rick is basing his rather nebulous hypothesis on a totally erroneous assumption, and so saying that, I vote yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, Resolution 2019/57, performance bond release for 4101 West Brigantine Avenue. I need a first and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions by council? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
You? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Now we're going into our consent agenda. The VFW raffle license number 874, the Elks raffle license number 875, Eastern Surfing Association, St. Andrews by the Sea Church beach request, Marine Mammals Training Center run walk for animal fundraiser request. Okay, we need a first and second on that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, I hear none, so can I have roll call, please?
You? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Council members, council manager discussion. Jim, do you have anything you want to?
I have nothing, Mayor.
Nothing this time? So, as usual, I'll go right down. First Ward. Karen, you want to talk about the,
I was at a
anything?
Green Team meeting last week.
Okay.
The community garden is coming up and running, getting up and running. Bob Shaley, thanked John Doring for the shells and the soil for the aisles. They're hoping to be able to start to plant in the middle of April. If anybody has seedlings that they're raising at home, not just seeds, they would like some donations of some seedlings. And Farmers Market is having a volunteer meeting on May 8th. They need volunteers, as many as they can get. That meeting on May 8th will be at 6:30 at the community center. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Councilman Lettieri?
I have no comment.
Everything good at Ward 2? Okay. Dennis? Councilman Haney?
Okay, there was a Clean Communities meeting the other day. I think I'll let Vince speak on that as well as John was there as well. So maybe John might have some input. I'd also just like to give a little tip of the cap to Ryan Lindhurst and Lynn. I did neglect to mention during our presentation to the hockey team that they were instrumental in just getting getting all the certificates ready for the kids on a last-minute thing. We just really had to scramble, so it was like a little mini logistics thing going on there. So thank you, Lynn, and make sure if you could pass that person along to Ryan.
I will.
Much appreciated.
I had to sign them, Dennis.
You had to sign them?
Yeah. So,
okay,
yeah,
did that take you 30 seconds? Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, and thanks for the presentation, and it was a really wonderful thing for those kids. Boys and girls of the summer are going to be out there in the field. We got girls softball and baseball. So as far as the community center goes, there's just plenty of stuff down there, like I always mention during our meetings. So go online or take a little trip down there. There's always good stuff going on. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Dennis. Rick? Have anything?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to reiterate what Karen said about the farmers market volunteers. They definitely do need people to volunteer. It's not such a big commitment of time as you might think. There's plenty of jobs that you can do that'll take you maybe a half an hour each week. And they absolutely can use them. I know the setup and breakdown crews are aging rapidly, so anybody maybe under the age of 70 wants to do it, it'd be great. And beyond that, I just want to also reiterate our manager's comments in the council manager comment section.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Councilman Reardon? Or O'Riordan?
Yeah, O'Riordan. Well, that being said, I just want to talk about the parade we had on Saturday.
No, really?
Surprise, surprise, right?
Taxes?
And the fact we lowered taxes the last 4 years, I guess I'll mention that too. But the parade on Saturday was a big success. Nothing but positive feedback. And I really have to say that it couldn't have been done without the help and teamwork from all the department heads. It was just wonderful. Volunteers, I mean, John was there, Public Works helping out. The police kept everything orderly. There wasn't any problems at all. Fire department was involved. City manager was so involved in the parade and all. And it was just from the start of the parade when the mayor raised the flag and cut the ribbon with the grand marshals to the very end. Just great feedback.
Put it in your office. Okay, thank you.
Great feedback from the restaurants, local establishments. Right to the very end of the night, they had the parish dance. Father Ed had a St. Patrick's dance up there, and so big shout out and thanks to the city employees, volunteers, participants, and attendees. And the good news is, it looks like it's going to happen again next year. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman.
Good job.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, absolutely. I even brought handouts.
Oh, boy. There's going to be a test.
Just for you.
Okay.
So while council's passing these out, we had our beach committee meeting One of the things that we discussed, I believe at the last council meeting, was the city is looking to do 4 more ADA-compliant beach mats for this summer. This was referred to Beach Committee. We looked at 7 locations. We looked at 14th Street North, 10th Street North, Roosevelt, 16th Street, 26th Street, 34th Street, and Club Drive. The committee is recommending that we go this season with Roosevelt, 16th Street, 26th Street, and 34th Street. Some of the biggest considerations for the committee were availability of public parking and also public handicap parking and access to bathroom facilities, which all 4 of these locations have. We looked at 2 things with the county, since that's a county road down on 10th Street North and 14th Street North, to see if we could try to do a redesign of the parking. The county, unfortunately, was not able to turn it around fast enough. I was working with freeholders Amy Gatto and Rich Days. One of the things we're going to look at for next year, if we decide to do more mats, is what we can do between now and then to try to expand handicap and public parking in that area. So that's something that we have working in the future. We also had a request from the residents down on Club Drive, and these were from 2 condo developments there, which was the Brigantine Island Beach Resort and the Sandpiper. And I asked the city manager to forward the letters that were sent to me, as well as the correspondence back and forth with those residents who live there. They wanted to make sure that you guys understood the need that they had and that there's a great desire. A couple of the things that they asked that I share with council is that between the 2 buildings, they have 145 residents over the age of 62. 7 of their residents are ADA certified. And they said due to age and limited mobility, many of their residents have been physically unable to enjoy the beaches at Club Drive for years. They want council to know that Club Drive is a major beach access point for many of the people on the south end. They said right now, because I talked to them about the parking as well and let them know one of the biggest considerations is there has to be public parking. Bless you. They said they have 1 handicap spot now, but they would be willing to try to offer more. One of the issues we run into in my conversations with the city manager is that I don't know that we can take private property and open it up for public use. I don't know that that's something that we can do. One last thing they asked me to remind council is that collectively, between the 2 buildings, they pay over $800,000 a year in taxes, and they said that their owners and their renters pour a significant amount of money into the Brigantine economy, and their taxes support our school systems, and their residents right now do not use it. So they wanted council to have that in consideration as we look at moving forward. One thing I want to note with 16th Street is we did one of our beach mats last year at 16th Street, and we had a lot of great success, but the product that we used last year actually did not hold up as well as we would have liked. We were supposed to be able to drive vehicles over it. Some of the vehicles drove over, it created separations in the mat. Now the company itself made right any issues or any problems with the mat. They made corrections and sent us the pieces we need, but we want to try a new product this year. What we're looking at is Access Mat. This is very similar. I believe, John, was it Ocean City who uses this?
Ocean City, Maryland, and Ocean City, New Jersey is using it this year.
Yeah, and Ocean City, Maryland's had a lot of success with this. It's a little bit more durable. The mat itself actually rivets together, which will prevent it from just separating. So we're going to try this out this year. So like I said, if you look, I gave you guys the costs down the side so you can see what each of those mats cost. I did a rough estimate of the population living in those areas over the age of 60, and then you can also see the parking requirements. But as for now, the recommendation is for Roosevelt, 16th Street, 26th Street, and 34th. The mat at 16th Street, we're hoping with council's approval that we could move that down to the city dock. It might be some better use down there, and then we could replace the one at 16th Street. So I'll open it up to council if you guys have any questions.
Any questions?
All I can say is last year it was so well received at 16th Street.
Yeah.
And I do understand the need for
Yeah, we just can't do the whole beach.
initially
Yeah.
putting them where the public parking and bathroom facilities are.
I'd like to say regarding 34th and 26th Street, I've been getting some calls off and on about just the mats and also the situation with also the porta potties that are in that area. John, is there anything with the mats? Is there anything like that goes underneath the mat itself, or is it just like a straight mat run down to the beach? Is there
Beach sand.
just
Yes, the only thing that we have to do is we have to make it ADA compliant from the parking lot to the mat, which will entail using the I-5 gravel, so that you can use the wheelchairs or whatever on it. And there, one curb that we're looking at 26th Street has to be redesigned so that we can get from the car up and over onto the gravel.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
One of the things I want to add too is, and I'm sure everybody's aware, but we received a ton of positive feedback when we did this last year. You know, we knew that it was a good thing to do, and I really want to thank John, our Superintendent of Public Works. He really put a lot of time and effort into researching and making sure, like him and his department, that this was a success. So many people reached out to us and talked about how it was a game changer for them. So many families said how they were unable to enjoy the beach for years, were finally able to come back down and spend the day at the beach with their friends and family. So it's great that we're able to continuously improve our community and continuously improve the enjoyment of our beaches. So if council is good, if we want to move forward with the beach committee's recommendations of Roosevelt 16th, 26th, and 34th, it's up to you.
I just want to say, Vince, thank you for the informative report. You've done an excellent job here. And I guess the thing is, I know we had talked about formats, that we were going to do formats this year, and the people on 10th and 14th Street and Club Drive, we want to do what we can going forward in the future to help resolve that and get them down there also. But for the time being, we're going to go, these formats are what you recommended. That's what we're looking at. Good.
All right.
You want a voice vote?
Yeah, I don't know, is this something we need to vote on, or?
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Once these are
nays?
ordered,
Nope.
sorry. All right, once they're ordered, it'll take about 12 to 14 weeks, so I know we're looking to get them ordered as soon as
Yep.
possible to have them ready for the season.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Vince. Great job. I have a few things. I was in a meeting today with the gas company, South Jersey Gas. Me and the city manager, our city engineer, and John Doring was there also. Had quite a few complaints about not having detours signs up. They're just putting cones up sometimes, and sometimes they're just blocking it off with the truck and everything like that. I know the chief's been having some complaints, but I see his officers are out there now taking care of the situation. They assured us that they'll put up signage and make it easier to get around. They also assured us that they will get paving done, and anybody that has a curb or a sidewalk that's asphalt right now, where they just put asphalt back in there to patch it, they will fix it before Memorial Day coming up. So your concrete will be fixed and your landscaping, and I think we even talked about some people, even the city of Brigantine, we needed a irrigation system on Roosevelt Boulevard. So that's being taken care of. They understand the situation. There's going to be a lot of work done in the next 3, 4, 5 years at our city, just the gas company, but road work we're having done. So we're going to have some detours around, but we're making Brigantine better. Yeah, we're getting all new gas mains put in. That's very important. I know it's aggravated. People are aggravated now, but you know what could happen. We certainly don't want it to happen. So bear with the gas company and the city of Brigantine. Just trying to make things better. Road work, like I said, we had a meeting with the Atlantic County about the circle. You know, I'm not allowed to call it a circle because we won't get no money. We have to call it a roundabout. But at the lighthouse, that we're working on that situation down there. to make it safer and easier to navigate in that channelway there, in that roadway. So we're working on that. I know we're talking about the Lighthouse District to put up some, getting that project probably right after the summertime started, and then place up where Ernest and Sons and those places, we want to get that done. We have the money for that. I want to give a shout out to Mike O'Riordan with the parade. The parade was very successful. It was an economic development project too. That we have our committee, economic development committee, with Mike chairs, and I talked to a lot of restaurant people and store owners, and they were thrilled half to death. I mean, the people that were in Brigantine just standing there, and as we marched down the street or parade down the street, it was pretty amazing that I think we had everybody in Brigantine because it was middle of March. So I want to give my hats off to Mike and everybody that was involved. Dennis, nice job with the hockey. Kudos there. Just give us a little bit more time next time.
What's that?
Just give us a little bit more time next time.
The guy in the end, you need to talk to him.
So,
I picked up the fumble and ran, took it down to right into the other end zone.
Economic development, we had the road work. Our local radio talk show host, Don Williams of 1400 WOND, is getting married this Saturday.
Is he really?
Yep. After 21 years, engaged to Joni Vekis. I introduced them. I'll be marrying them where they got introduced at, which is the Pirates Den. Don ain't going for much, so he's going to the Pirates Den. So, hope he's listening now. I thought that's a nice thing. So,
Hey, also, kudos also, I know, you really give you a nice tip of the cap there, Mike, for hitting that ball out of the park with the St. Patrick's Parade. It really was awesome. And like you mentioned, I meant to mention something earlier, Mayor, you talked about all the eateries and all our different establishments, and they got a nice little economic shot in the arm there for sure over the weekend. And also with the hockey, also, you cannot underestimate all the cars, and I'm sure Chief Rehill here can, with his men down there and the fire departments down there for whatever reason they might need to go down there to help someone out. But the cars that are in that lot and the traffic in and out, and you hear the people just repping, Mike, right? You just along the fence there. Oh yeah. You hear people talk about where they're staying, different hotels, going to eat. I mean, there's a lot of money that comes into the town from that as well. But parade, it was great to see all those people on the street. I mean, it was packed. Every single street, right on down the avenue. It was beautiful.
Let's not forget the electric company meeting, the public meeting we're going to have with the electric company. I was working till 10 o'clock last night with the electric company, what we have coming into Brigantine, along with Rich Days and Deputy Mayor Sarah here last night, and they got my blood pressure up. So trying to make that smooth as best for Brigantine as possible, but we're talking about a lot of money. So June 8th at the community center, 11 o'clock is going to be the public meeting on that, and I encourage people to come out and talk to the electric company and see what they have planned. We're having renderings done to show you exactly what they're doing. So that's June 8th. So I'm going to open up to the public. Anybody want to speak on Mrs. Phillips? You know the routine. Just go on.
Ann H. Phillips, 308 27th Street. I do have 3 items, which I will get in the 5 minutes. But first, I want to make a comment concerning Councilman DeLucre's comments regarding case law and the waiver of deed restrictions. In the future, I think it would behoove council to adhere to those case law rulings and handle the situation differently when another deed restriction issue comes before council. Okay, number 1. And Councilman Riordan, I'm sorry, but it's doing maintenance again. So please pay attention to this. The city's regulation requires that the type of work and maintenance that may be conducted pursuant to the permit are described on the application form to be provided to the property owner by the engineer or his or her designee. Nowhere on the application form or on any other form is there any information fulfilling this nature of work requirement. How can the engineer or his designee allow, review, and approve work on public property that is not described in writing? And that's a good question that you should ask yourselves. And I hope we'll correct this omission in the way the law is being followed. You can go down and look at areas that did receive permits and try to find out what was done. But if there's nothing to indicate what was done anywhere in writing, it's difficult to make a judgment and an evaluation. I think there have been in the past violations into the public property by private property owners, and I think this needs to be corrected and enforced. How can you have a form where you're asking a permit and the engineer is then supposed to review and approve the work done when there's no indication of what the work was, how it was done, or anything else? That makes no sense. So I hope that will take place and that information will be provided on the application form, a place for that information. As of now, there's nothing. Number 2, based on information I have received, I believe the library had a severe health and maintenance problem last year. How was it handled and has it been corrected? What is its status now? When I finish, I'd appreciate if you would all discuss this because this was serious. People were sick, had to be, some went to the hospital, and the library, yes. So I'll move on to number 3. The press had an interesting article just the other day. I'm sure you must have seen it. Title was "The Harder the Surface, the Bigger the Flood." And this deals with the issue of the impervious surfaces that we have. And this is especially a problem in other shore towns as well as Brigantine. Our percentage is 81, which is pretty high. And some of the other sewer towns also have a high percentage. But the point is, the fewer impervious surfaces you have, the less flooding you will have. And I think we have been somewhat lax in making sure that the percentage of ground cover, space, construction, and also space is open to being permeable, allowing water to flow down rather than just into the street and providing drainage problems. So my question to you is, did you read the article? And what do you think can be done in Brigantine regarding construction codes and enforcement? So I think it was very interesting. I hope you read it. And what can be done?
I saw the article, Mrs. Phillips. I saw the article. I read it. I mean, it's tough for me to recall all the specifics of it as I sit here right now, but Brigantine was right up there with we were right on line just with all our other shore communities.
No, I'm not saying that we're...
Cape May, which is a different type of town, it
was the lowest, yes, that's correct.
Non-permeable areas, I should say.
No.
We're in pretty good shape.
No, we have other towns in the same situation and with the same high percentages. And if you look evidently, they also quoted the percentage throughout the state, which is very low. But I think it's something we should take an interest in and see what can be done, since we do have water problems, flooding problems, and drainage problems. So, at any rate, I just put that forth with the hope that this council will look into that.
Well, it is something new, too. I mean, lately, within the last, just a couple of years, they've been looking at that. Atlantic City, for instance, has, with all the concrete and asphalt they have like more of a serious problem, but we are
Yeah.
a short community, so there's certain things we're just going to have to deal with, and we have a good group of engineers, and John Doring is always on top of what's going on and delegating the right people to do whatever, so...
Well, different ways to cover surfaces that you don't want to have
Doesn't mean you
just
don't have to be
green.
aware of it, but I'm saying I think we're,
Okay, thank you.
duly
And
noted.
If the library was a surprise, it was a surprise to me too. However, it is a fact, and the question remains, how was it handled and has it been corrected? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Frank Panetta, 8 Kirkwood Circle. I just want to get back to the discussion that was going on about this land use question. And I have a couple questions that are more or less rhetorical questions that I really don't expect an answer, but it seems that there is a disagreement between Fred and Councilman DeLucre about if you can charge, you can't charge. But what I took away from this is the major thrust of this is process. The law is clear that there is a process to be followed. It appears it hasn't been followed. Now, Mike, his argument is, and it's a viable argument because it's been done for years, is this is how we've always done it. But just because this is how we always have done it doesn't supersede case law. The law is the law, and it should be followed. There's a kind of dispute between can you charge, can't you charge. I don't know. I'm not an expert on land use, but I think if this is a problem that's come up in the past, and nobody can give an answer, has anybody thought about possibly going to the courts and asking for a declaratory judgment to answer that question? That's all I have to say. I mean, it's just food for thought. Put an end to it altogether. Get a definitive answer, and it's over with.
Frank, did you hear Fred say that it's okay, that there's
Well, he says it's
not a
okay.
problem?
Mr. DeLucre doesn't.
We pay him.
Well, I know, but I'm
Yeah,
just
that's who
saying.
I'm listening to, that man right there.
And
But
the other
I'm just
thing,
saying,
I'm not just saying because it was done, there was a past practice set, I'm not just saying because it was done in the past, we can continue to do it. Our council,
but what if the homeowner comes up and says,
Another thing, too,
I'm not paying
sure.
it. I don't have to.
Frank, if you like, I'll get case law saying that it's okay for the next meeting, if you like.
Okay. Fred, have you shepherdized the law that Mr. DeLucre has talked about?
Well,
See if it's still valid law? I mean, that's...
two attorneys disagreed. We
That's what I'm saying.
admitted,
Let's get a definitive answer.
You have to
Put an end
remember,
to it.
the city holds that deed restriction, though, so, I mean...
I understand that, but I'm just saying that there seems to be a complete disconnect here.
Okay.
That what can be done and what can't be done. Let's find out what the court says
Frank,
is the answer. I mean, it costs a couple bucks. How much could it cost?
Frank.
Fred doesn't charge that much.
Frank,
Charge just does stuff for free, doesn't you, Fred? Yeah.
Frank, I wouldn't say, Frank,
Says that all the time.
I wouldn't say because one person disagrees that there's a major disconnect on this.
No, but I'm...
About one person here
Well,
has a disagreement.
Well, what I'm saying is,
6 of us agree.
what I'm saying is, there's case law.
Yeah.
He stated the case law, and I'm saying process. And listening to what went on here, the process wasn't followed, according to the case law.
No.
That's simple.
Now, sir, I didn't look at the case law involving these things that went on in Atlantic City, but there were holders of deed restrictions in Atlantic City, some of the properties where there was money paid to have those deed restrictions lifted, the people who were taking over those properties. So, I mean, it's just food for thought.
But did the homeowners contest paying those fees?
And Frank, considering the
So I'm
source...
saying, I'm talking process.
They did not.
Process. The process was not followed.
The case laws that were mentioned, considering the source, they could be case laws for the dunes being trimmed.
That's
No.
funny, Mike, that's good, that's good.
Okay.
Well, tell you what, Mike.
Listen, I'm not here to cast aspersions on anyone. I'm just saying,
You can take it and twist it any way you want it, but...
like I said, I'm not here to cast aspersions on anyone. If there's a genuine dispute, get it settled.
Thanks, Frank.
That's all.
Thank you.
And, Mike, when you get that case law that you alluded to, please give it to Jim, and I'll ask Jim to send it to me, because I'm fascinated to see what you come up with.
Yeah, and send your case laws over to Jim also, so he can forward them to me, Rick. Thank you.
Happy to do
There? Okay.
If I put them on the record.
Public portion.
All right.
Come on. Come on up, Em.
Marion Godinsky, 107 South 21st Street in Brigantine. Last time we met, I mentioned that in the Brigantine papers there was information on Charles Ingram, who was a veteran, a 51-year-old veteran who on March 18th, he and his wife went to the VA in Northfield, and whatever didn't happen or did happen, he went to the VA the next day in Northfield and literally poured gasoline all over himself, set himself on fire, and he burned and he died. An interesting piece of paper came out, and it came out from the VA, and I will see that you get a copy of this. Dear Sir or Madam, you are invited to join the community in a remembrance ceremony on March 16, 2019, at 1 p.m. to honor the memory of Mr. Charles Ingram and all those whose wars did not end. The word veteran isn't in there. The organization Flags for the Forgotten Soldiers will be placing 660 American flags in front of the memorial bench for Mr. Ingram located at the Northfield Clinic on 1909 New Road. The ceremony will begin at 1. There couldn't be, and I was there, I received one of these, there could never have been 660 flags in front of his bench. The 660 is the number for 22 veterans who commit suicide every day of the year. And there were people there. I attended. His wife was there. I spoke with his wife. His mother was there. The 660 flags were not in front of his bench. They were in a field this large, and they may still be there. They were there as of yesterday, and some of the veterans groups were there, and some people who were members of congressional and other places were there. But what's happening is that nothing's going on to end the reason why veterans are committing suicide, and the average age is 61 years of age, plus the younger people who are dying from doing suicide because they have PTSD and a group of other problems, whether it's drugs or whatever there are. So I will see that you get this. Interestingly enough, this was written by the VA, and the people who are in the Southern New Jersey Veterans Community Outreach Service from Wilmington, Delaware, put this out. But there was nothing has ever been printed on what the issues were, that he was never treated the day he went there 2 years ago. And also to assume that they're looking at all those other people who are committing suicides every day to the tune of 22 veterans every single day. And I just thought...
Thank you for that information.
You should know about that, and I will see that
No,
you get
please
a
send me a
copy of
copy.
it.
Yeah.
And Marion, I really want to thank you. I think literally from the day I've met you and every single place I've ever seen you, you endlessly advocate for our veterans. I want to thank you for keeping us informed and letting us know what's going on in the county, because there is not enough good things that we can do to help and protect the people who has given us so much. So thank you. It means a lot. Thank you.
We're not helping them, and that's the problem. The choice
Right.
card, I did speak with Mr. Trump before he became president and asked him if he would put some more attention on veterans issues.
Yep.
Right now, Patrick Kennedy, who is a Brigantine resident, is on the radio and other places and telling people his thoughts on
Absolutely.
New Jersey having marijuana. So there are some people who are standing up and speaking against certain issues that are not helpful, but on the other hand, there are not.
No, don't give up your fight.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Name and address.
Kathy Rashiel, 1301 Ocean Avenue. I have a question about the current New Jersey state law prohibiting smoking on the beach, and I'm interested in hearing about the plans for enforcing that this summer. There should be, in my opinion, signs at all the beach entrances reminding people about the New Jersey state law, and possibly some kind of receptacle at each beach entrance where people can discard their cigarettes. Because right now, they're all over the beach entrance and the cigarette butts. It's a really disgusting mess. And that, of course, the smoking ban also should apply to the upcoming fishing tournaments. So I'm interested in that they have those plans firmed up for enforcing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this actually came up in our beach committee, and it's something we've been following for, I guess, almost 2 years now. The state law is in effect. It puts a prohibition on smoking on the beach. I know the city is going to have signs at the beach entrances. I think maybe the idea for a receptacle might be a good idea, so that's something we can look into. The other thing, too, is we've had conversations with our police chief and representatives about how they're going to go about enforcing. One of the things we were concerned with having lifeguards enforce it, that it would take kind of away from their duties and away from their focus. So we thought the best place would be to have the police and the specialists who were on the beach patrolling enforce this issue. So it's something we're taking very seriously and something we're going to handle to the best of our ability.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anybody else from the public? See none? Looks like we need a motion to adjourn. We'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for watching us tonight. Our next meeting is, I believe, April 3rd, and that will start at 6 o'clock. And thank you for attending our meeting. Thank you.